Commissioners, the meeting is live.
Well, good morning. Welcome to May 19th meeting, Riley County Commissioners. Please stand and join the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Or not?
We're working. We're
Oh.
working.
Okay. Do you have any public comment?
My name is Troy Coberly, live at 5304 Terra Heights Drive, Manhattan. I'm here again regarding the short-term rentals and issues that we're having with not only with short-term rental property owners and the residents, as well as the Riley County Planning and Development. I've spoke here before on public comment regarding the issues of having these short-term rentals in residential areas. I've made recommendations in front of the Planning and Zoning Board to actually have it removed from residential zoning. And part of that is because we don't have any way to enforce those regulations that are currently on the books. Even though we do have Darren Hobbs, which is the compliance specialist, who's supposed to inspect and go through and deal with complaints and violations. If you take what happened from 2024 with the issue that I've had, where the short-term rental was not licensed. The incident happened after Super Bowl. So mid-February, made the complaint late February, and found out, or we knew that the short-term rental was not operating with a license. Even though they were still maintaining and renting their property, they didn't receive their license until July 15th, I believe. So I was told by Planning and Development that we couldn't make a violation because they don't have a license and they're unaware of any of the violations or any of the regulations. So along with dealing with an uphill battle with Planning and Development, we also have the neighborhood being compromised with either loud noise, loud music, tents, camping in the front yards, and then excess traffic. And I think that's something that, even though I've seen recently that you as the board talked about three possible amendments to the regulations on that short-term regulation, I don't think any of those amendments actually address the problem. You talked about a setback requirement of 500 feet. If an additional short-term rental comes in. Thank you. And I think that's the problem is we have the problems currently. And I think adding more regulations that aren't going to be enforced is just more, it's just more waste of time. But I think when you file a complaint and then when the complaint goes unchecked, or it takes 5.5 weeks to actually be dealt with in the manner of it's not turned into a violation, it's just kept as a complaint. I think that's the part that needs to be addressed as opposed to making new regulations that are still not going to be enforced. So I'd be open to any questions as far as dealing with the short-term rental that I've had to deal with.
I would make a suggestion of reaching out both to your state representative or whatever district you're in and your state senator as well, because statutorily, that's what it's going to take at the state level to render some kind of enforcement mechanism at the beginning and at the end for us to be able to do that. So You should
So-
share your concerns with them as
Yeah.
well.
And I've already addressed that. They said that that's gonna be difficult considering currently KDA, who's Kansas Department of Agriculture, and George Blush, who was the director of it. I was in a long conference call with all of them last year, and they stated they will not enforce any short-term regulations dealing with residential homes. So even though all the definitions, all the requirements, it's all there. They said that they don't have the manpower or the funding. And they said, if you want to march up to the Capitol and ask them to dump a potload more money into our pockets, we'll do it. But I mean, in the hour-long conversation with the 6 people that I had over at KDA, there's roughly $1 million worth of salaries that I was talking with. And they're asking for more money, saying, hey, we need more. And I think it's that part where you can say, okay, you could have 3 or 4 more people, but I think with KDA, they were stating that Kansas is such a large rural unincorporated area. They don't have the manpower to go to every residential home and inspect it, even though they inspect hunting in fishing cabins and resorts like that. But I think it's that part of saying that we should wait for the state to get involved. They're not coming. And I don't believe, even if they say we're going to bring something in front of the sessions, see if we can get a law passed, I don't believe that's ever gonna happen.
That doesn't make any sense internally, because all they need to do is change statutes, and then they don't have to do it. We could actually have the authority to do it. And we would have the
County
manpower.
rule. We got
Right,
county
we'd
rule,
have the
home
manpower
rule.
and the knowledge and the background to be able to do that.
But I
Instead
think
of
it's-
policy that establishes those.
So you're saying as far as that the state would allow you to adopt the state policy?
Correct, but they have to change how they're doing that to allow us the authority
Yeah.
to be able to do that.
So then that would be thrown back onto a county that says we're gonna have to come up with finance to pay for codes and specialists.
Well,
And
I
there's a
don't
lot of
think we're at a
counties.
point, I don't think we're at a point where we need tons and tons of manpower. We just need to be of the ability to be able to enforce
Enforce, yeah.
Okay,
those
so,
mechanisms.
and that's when I brought that up before. The issue that I've been told by planning and zoning is we can't enforce anything until we have codes. And in order to have codes, we have to have code compliance officers that actually meet that. So it gets in,
Yeah.
from what I've been told, it gets into a deep regulation part, which they said was money. And so that's that part. I think that's why I recommended that we remove that short-term rental from the zoning for residential zoning, so that we don't have that issue in neighborhoods in the residential areas. So, but that's, I'm still dealing with complaints and trying to deal with follow-ups, but it's just a nuisance. And I think the part is the nuisance is being allowed from Riley County. So, thank you.
Some of these fall under our nuisance ability.
Our new,
To enforce nuisance.
I'd have to do a review. It's possible, but I'm thinking not like.
Had that discussion before.
Yeah, I don't know if we
Yeah, that
did
same conclusion.
specifically on this, though. I don't.
It's a different umbrella because it's governed by, of course, our short-term regulations versus our powers to regulate specific property nuisances that are like established in common law and
Mhm.
established causes of action. I don't think this would fall under that. That's I think the issue.
Yep, but that's what I was thinking the whole time. Isn't that exactly kind of what needs to happen if the state legislature, a law get passed like that to allow us to have some authority for the
Right.
attorneys to take to court? And that's the problem. We don't have any laws that we can take to court and enforce. And so that's the the legislature needs to be made, just like we did with nuisance abatement.
Nobody at the state would then have to enforce that. That would just be local control at that point in time. And does that require more money and more resources and potentially more people? Yeah, that's a possibility, but I don't think we have such a ton of them at the moment to where we have to hire 3 or 4 people to accomplish those goals. I think you could do that in a sensible.
Not that no one wants to do anything, you just have no authority to push it when it comes to the end, to say you have to get it done.
Yeah, and I understand that part, but it's like when we have rules and regulations currently, and they're not enforcing those. I don't have any faith that if the state stepped in and said, okay, now we're giving the counties the authority. I don't believe that I don't believe here in Riley County that it would step up and say, if I have a nuisance or if I have continuing operations problems. Excuse me.
I was gonna say, if you want, you can come over to the hearing I'm about to have on our nuisance abatement case. And you can see that. We definitely are.
Thank you.
Just as a comment, how long did it take before you got the authority from the state to abate nuisance?
3 years. It was a 3-year process.
You gotta start somewhere.
We didn't have it right the first time, so we had to rewrite it, and then it had to go through the legislative process, and
Right.
that took 2 full cycles.
And as we were talking about earlier, it's a very slow boat to move, and sure he'll get an eyeful when he goes to the abatement hearing, because that's going to show about in terms of the process. Yeah, you gotta find a balance, because those people have a right to their property and its use within the guidelines. Anyway, my name is Gary Oles. I live at 3308 Frontier Circle. Just a couple of things to touch on that I have before. I know that you're dealing with outside appropriations. That's an ongoing discussion. I would encourage you, make some cuts. Please don't give them more, please. As I understand, the given on the budget is revenue neutral, and then you have a hearing if you have to exceed it. So encourage you, shoot for revenue neutral, shoot below revenue neutral. Property taxes, you included, need some tax relief as well. And then lastly, I see on the end of your agenda, you have the law board meeting coming up, and we have 2 members, county members, who serve on that this time around. And I'm sure you've looked through the packet, and I've not read it nearly as detailed as you have. But the reality is, once again, we need property tax relief. You've made some good steps with regards to SROs and trying to get the school districts to belly up or step up, I should say, and pay some money, at least some money. They're talking about charging for parades or whatever type events, so that there's at least some recovery. It doesn't really provide relief because we still pay the property taxes. They just get the money back.
But on the SROs, it doesn't really matter in terms of property tax relief, because either the school district's paying it out of the same property tax, or our CPD is gonna be paying it out of property tax.
Yeah, but the difference is, depending on the bucket they're paying it out of, everybody in the whole state gets to contribute, because for the 20 mil that you send into the state, in my discussion with the superintendent, they get far more than 20 mils back.
And actually, it's gonna be 18.5, but
They're gonna get far more than
Right.
18.5 in terms of the funds. And that's a different, we got 4 fronts here: law board, county, city, school district. Nice thing about the rural
Well,
school districts is you
actually-
just don't hear as much from them. So something must be going right up there.
yeah, it's a challenge there too, trust me.
Yeah. Probably not as big of a challenge. And of course, the biggest expense, as you all well know, is the compensation, and not particularly the compensation of the people who are in the field working for John, but you got to really take a good hard look at administrative compensation, because it's crazy. Perhaps perfectly justifiable, but it's expensive, as you know. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Good morning, Evan McMillan, Public Works. Just a reminder, the transfer station will be closed next Monday for Memorial Day. Thanks.
Anything else? Done.
My news isn't any better. Speaking of property tax, Thursday we had the RHID and Area Housing Task Force discussion over at the Lincoln Center with officials officials and staff from USD 383 in the city of Manhattan. Of course, we also had several members of Riley County staff, including our interim county councilor, Jacob Hansen, and Riley County Planning Director, Amanda Webb, present. Former state senator Tom Hawk moderated the event. Discussion centered around the need to develop a streamlined policy that all the governing bodies can agree to and better understand the needs overall for each such entity. There'll be some follow-up with staffs moving forward from the various boards. Also going to include the other two rural school districts because they're at some point in time going to be involved in this decision-making process as well. Jacob's going to follow up with the car on Thursday. We didn't have enough time to get it in on today to kind of summarize everything and kind of discuss what the next steps are and see where we're at collectively on that. I think that's the fair thing to do. There's a potential for another meeting, follow-up meeting in sometime in June. Just got to see how things work out. So
We have to.
might be before that deadline. But then again, they're going to be
Said it-
discussing another one tomorrow. So the objective to me is to just keep pushing them through and whatever happens, happens, I guess. So we're trying to figure out a way not to do that because it doesn't benefit anybody, including the people filling out applications who put time, energy, and dollars into that to get to that point, to then not get to that point potentially because something's off in the equation. I would probably venture to say that this isn't just an issue here. I've seen several counties where this is becoming a struggle. Leavenworth County is another good example. They're going through some things here recently, much in the same manner. Crawford County's had some issues. Seward County is re-looking at their policies. When the state really opened this up, they didn't really open this up with any real foundation in mind. So everybody's trying to figure out what the best course of action or best path is for each of those entities moving forward too. And it's a little bit cumbersome and chaotic is probably how I would best describe it at this point in time.
So did you come up with any suggestions from the task force? I mean, any solutions of any kind or anything?
I got kind of the idea that we all kind of have apples and oranges when it comes to what our expectations kind of are and what our needs based off of it is. And it's far reaching and either we've got to come to some kind of balance or compromise or something along those ends, or at least some kind of a streamlined policy so those that are considering this or want to consider this actually have an idea of what may happen before they dive off the diving board and all the way into it, for lack of a better analogy. So there's still
More to
discussions
come.
on that. Yeah, yeah. And like I said, Jacob has a really good summary from Thursday's discussion, and he'll be sharing that with us on Thursday. I think it's on the agenda. So didn't have enough time to get it on today's. Okay. Sunday morning, yesterday, I listened in on the National Weather Service's weather webinar. Thought that first one we did at the Intergovernmental was pretty concise. So I was kind of interested to see if they would get it right a second time, and they didn't disappoint. That was for this next round of severe weather, most of which took place last night, and a stretch it's supposed to kind of come through and move through this way this afternoon and through the evening. Much like the last one, they were pretty spot on with their analysis and the hazards that took place, including some tornadic activity. Probably just give my thoughts out to all of our friends in Kiowa, Rena, and Gove counties who took the harshest part of that. They had another tornado emergency for Greensburg.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it slid just a little bit off to the east and kind of moved up that way and just barely missed them. So thankful for that, obviously. And it was 1.75 miles at one point in time in Reno County.
Oh, goodness.
Saw some photos of flashing light at night. They were able to get some still photographs of it. The thing was huge. It was just hugging the ground is what it looked like. So fortunately, most of it was over a rural area, so it didn't probably do too much damage. But think about the people that were there in their EOCs and working hard last night. So I may see the same thing in our region tonight. We'll just have to knock on wood on that one. This morning I was able to get in and get my taxes and tags paid at the treasurer's office. I was like putting in a plug for them as usual. They didn't disappoint us. The entire process took less than 5 minutes to be in and out and done from check-in. Thought it was kind of amazing to see how many people were out there at 7:30. There was a line. They all weren't wanting the same thing, obviously, but There's quite the line out there already at 7:30, so. That's just something about where we're at in that process, I guess. But speaking of disappointing. K-State baseball, dropping 2 of 3 to Cincinnati. Ugh. I guess they finished 6th place in the conference, 31-23, 17-13 in conference play. They'll be the 6th seed in the tournament and gonna have to make some noise if they want to make a regional, but crazier things have happened. That's all I got.
I don't have as much as that.
I didn't think that
Yeah.
it was that much, to be honest with you, but
Okay, well, Friday morning I had another water physical therapy. That takes a while to get cleaned up and finished with that, so,
more like just drying off.
yeah, well, yeah, a little bit more. Anyway, later did the shopping and worked in the yard. Also had a lot of phone calls to follow up on and make, and messages from the past several days. And I just kind of relaxed a little over the weekend after last week, so. Saturday, a friend came over for visit and lunch, later spent some more time on household chores and reviewed the agenda and documents for today's law board meeting. That took some time, some interesting things are gonna come up this afternoon, for sure. Let's see, yesterday, the Bell Choir did its final performance of the academic year, which is kind of good to get through with that. We'll start again in September. I have Wednesday evenings free now. It's good. Later, I went with a friend to Wamego to the Friendship House for lunch. And in the afternoon, I worked on today's agenda and documents. Took a good time and got everything in off the porch, getting ready for the big storm.
I've never heard the term apple-sized hail. They use that yesterday.
Apple-sized hail,
Apple-sized.
yeah.
Is that larger than baseball?
Smaller than softball. I have had
That's what I
softball.
have.
I have had softball there.
How the apple are we talking?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, obviously, I'm becoming a little complex in the thought of this.
Granny Smith, that's a big one.
That'd be larger than an apple. So maybe they need to clarify that when they're using fruit as the basis for developing what hail apple is going to
Maybe it's a
be.
pineapple size.
And if it's that, I'm leaving town.
Yeah. Boarding up the windows. Okay, well, that's all I've got.
All right, well, it was graduation weekend for me, Riley, on Saturday with Riley County High School graduation. Had a nice ceremony. The speaker had gotten quotes or had videotape or recording from previous teachers, including the kindergarten, third, and I think 5th grade teachers, giving them comments. Because the kindergarten teacher, this was her first class that she taught. And they're graduating now. So it was pretty neat. Then Sunday, all around again. Sunday was Manhattan High graduation. We had the celebration in the morning at my son's house. And it was sunnier than I realized out there, as you might see.
So we've noticed.
Got a beacon on my head right now. And they had their graduation is at Bramlage, and it was interesting graduations. And that's
30
all I've
years
got.
ago, that was me. Same place.
Business commissioners?
Yeah.
First item we have is proclamation for Recovery Month on mental health.
Go ahead and make a motion to approve the mental health proclamation for May 25 for Pawnee Mental Health Services.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the Mental Health Month proclamation for May 2025 for Pawnee Mental Health Services. All in favor?
Aye.
All three, please sign. Next, Commissioner, the Raleigh County Employee Action Forms, Andrea Orellana, Drug Endangered Children Coordinator in the Health Department, Separation of Service. Brian Parker, County Counselor, Separation of Service, Jacob Hansen, Promotion, Interim County Counselor, all three, please sign.
Yeah, there's some corrections, that I picked up. Julie Gibbs is not the supervisor for Andrea. That's on the form. And then on, Brad Parker, his base rate wasn't $6,918.
Or pay period?
Well, is that per pay period? I thought that was supposed to be the total amount.
No, there should be an annualized beside it.
I thought the annualized pay.
Yeah, the salaried employees are not hourly, they're based on per pay period.
Okay,
So I could check that, but it would be per pay period.
okay, it just looked odd to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing with,
Rough maths in my head, and I would say
Okay.
rough because it's
Yeah, I
well,
know.
always rough, but
Little
that
cowboy math.
sounds about right.
I never think about it as pay per pay period.
But you gotta think about that. There's 2 pay periods in the month, so it'd be that times 2.
26 a year.
Times 12,
26
yeah.
Every 2 weeks.
26
Yeah.
times 7.
And you're not alone. A lot of people don't think about it that way, but Riley County does pay period and hourly. Those are our two base rates.
Okay, well, that was, but the Julie Gibson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Changed that. So. But other than that, I'm fine.
All three, please sign.
Mhm.
You can if you'd like, Catherine, that's fine.
I don't know who it is.
I'm guessing a previous template was used like the. I was looking at the numbers and not the.
Yeah.
You're fine. Less than 5 minutes this morning. That was amazing. Yeah.
I came out to say hi and you're already going.
Yeah, I had some work to do in the office. I did like to chat for 5 minutes. All possible. Did we do any type of proclamation for EMS last week?
We did not.
Okay, I thought maybe I missed that, but there's so much going on upstairs and it's
did.
shrinking on me.
I missed it.
Okay,
With everything going on
okay.
everywhere.
Well, happy EMS week anyway.
Thank you.
Any changes to the minutes, Commissioners?
No. Go ahead and make a motion then to approve the minutes from the May 15th meeting of the Riley County Commission as written.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the May 15th meeting as presented. All in favor? Aye.
Tentative agendas, look, Commissioners?
Already at the last 2 for May.
Busy, another month.
No, I don't have anything to add and nothing for the press conference either.
Anyone else have anything for press conference? Okay, next you have Brittany Phillips at 9 o'clock.
And it just hit 9.
Scroll down here. Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Phillips, Budget and Finance Officer. Here to present this morning Kind of an update and a request about OpenGov. So back in 2021, you signed a contract with OpenGov. And the goal of OpenGov was to streamline budgets, improve staff efficiency, and strategic planning for future years. And it's been ongoing for 4 years, and it is still not ready to launch. It's nowhere near ready. It's been kind of a disaster. And so we actually just finished our final payment. And at this time, we would ask the commissioners to end our contract with OpenGov and not pursue it further.
Anything in particular that, I'm just curious.
There's been a variety of things. So it's been really hard to get our salary numbers and everything in there. So when I came on, I'll just speak to what I experienced. So when I came on, numbers that were inputted prior to my arrival from other finance officers were inaccurate. And it took hours upon hours to try and update those. And by the time we did, we were in a new budget year and had to try and update those again too. We've had a lot of issues we got Comtech to start doing the upload daily. But then when we had them take into account our encumbrances, it was throwing our budget numbers and expenditures completely off. And it was deducting it from the wrong piece and nobody could pinpoint whose fault it was. And really just
Finger at each other.
yes, really. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah. And there's really been a lack of communication with OpenGov. It has not been easy. We get them on a call and they'll be like, oh, just go to the OpenGov University. You'll find all the answers, and you will not.
They have a university?
It's like a website. That's what they call it.
ADP has one too. I would mention from the payroll side, the personnel side, it's been very difficult. It's not as intuitive and it doesn't seamlessly talk. So we have to do all of the percentages every year in Paylocity, but it won't just load. And so every time we have any type of adjustment, we have to rebuild the tables inside of OpenGov. And so the information she's right was put in incorrectly by the previous finance officer, but it's also it won't automatically, or there's no system for correcting it as we go. It just wasn't, it was sold as something that was really going to help us be transparent and kind of keep everything in one place. And it was not functioning that way ever.
And even when last year, we really tried to push. We really, really tried to push it. We were working with our budget and planning committee and had them even test out their budgets in there. And even had them try adding a new position. It did not add in the cost of that position as a projection like they said it was going to. And so it was just, that's when we kind of fell flat and we're like, okay.
Can we get any money back from these people? I mean, that's it's ridiculous. We spent all this money for it. And we didn't get any.
And was it just for budgeting? Is that what?
It was
I never
for
followed it.
budgeting and really future planning.
Maybe
Future
Shiloh could do,
planning.
yeah.
If you couldn't even get the budgeting right, it can't be much.
Right.
You couldn't be future planning.
In our department, we looked at it, Josh looked at it from the beginning with our department to see how it would work, because he's all about the computers and he couldn't get it to work. He couldn't get our numbers to update every month and to automatically pull. Yeah.
I'm supposed to do that in real time, not just.
In real time, so we
Yeah.
can make adjustments
Right.
to what happened. Exactly.
And we could get it to work.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate with David, from my perspective, I worked with Comtech with the uploads and we did the month, it was kind of supposed to replace the monthly reports, but I don't know that we got a lot of buy-in from the departments. I'm still sending their monthly reports, which it's basically a duplication of effort. So, because it's just regurgitating the reports that I'm already sending them. So it was also supposed to be a transparency tool where we could, put out onto our website, stories that went along with our, if John had a bridge project, we could pull that data out and maybe do a cool story on the way. And we never really even got to that point. And so I agree. I just don't think it ended up being the right fit for us. And I'm sure there are other platforms out there that can do, maybe be a little more user-friendly.
Like he alluded to, we don't have confidence in the reports coming out of there. So we need your reports. We even if we use theirs, we verify it with your report of contact because we don't have the
So you're
confidence.
doing it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
how we realized like the encumbrances were off because we noticed that instead of kind of adding in that expense, it was deducting it. And so then all of our numbers were wrong. We were like, whoa, that's not how encumbrances work. You still charge it against the line. And so, yeah, that was the big piece. And I know like Gary's here and he really enjoys that budget book and, you know, our budget brochure, and it could, like, I would have to manually put that together and piece in all the graphs and stuff there. It was not an easy process, and it was not going to look anything like the budget book that we currently develop that already flows through. Greg Rich has a.
Oh,
I would just say it's not due to the lack of your staff's effort. And I guess the heavy lifters were Brittany and Shiloh. Elizabeth did a lot of work. David's always willing to be a guinea pig for whatever we try, and we appreciate that because someone needs to, and it's a lot of work on his staff. It is not because of lack of effort on our part. I agree. It's a shame the money get back, but as I told you in my budget presentation, I have that money set aside for computer conversion for tax and accounting. I'm hoping that happens when I'm gone, because this is why software companies always tell you
They say
this is gonna
easy.
integrate easily and it's always gonna work smoothly, and it doesn't. It's not for lack of effort on our staffs.
Oh, no. Doesn't sound like it. Well, we definitely need to end the contract.
stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, yeah.
I would make a motion to end the contract with Open Go.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to end the contract with OpenGov. All in favor?
Thank you, commissioners.
Next, commissioners, you have David Adams at 9:15.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were upset with something.
They're much right here.
When you were evaluating.
A lot, this mattered, yeah.
You know, it said it was supposed to be coming through earlier and then a bigger one later. We got some.
Presented.
So it was a bit
I
further
will
to
tell
the
you,
north and the
evaluation
north.
happened mostly with
Northeast.
John Ford and our previous finance officer. So I wasn't involved in that part. I know once they selected OpenGov, then we worked on it.
We got a lot of wind. I mean, I went and pulled all my porch furniture down, you know, my cushions off and my plants inside. and
Maybe it
just
was
like,
national.
I feel like doing it today, but I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And that they, you know, promoted
Yeah, we got, I don't know,
as a valuable source for.
ran out at about, took the dog out at about,
Yeah.
saw the report and I said, I better get him out.
Don't even run in the hail.
Yeah. So it was about
Just
6:30, I
crashing.
usually think about at 7:30, but yeah.
We must have been out and about at the same time, because I did the same thing, because it looks like we were about to get wet, and,
I mean, I can't speak to.
you know, it rained on me a little bit, but not much.
It sprinkled a little before we went out, but it was pretty
But I
much
think,
dry
I
when we
mean, we
went
can
out.
get the information if they don't know.
I'm just curious,
I know.
because every.
Yeah, I kind of rushed him around. He'd look at me like, what's going on?
Integrator.
But we had one big thunderbolt. That's all I call it.
There's a lot of rumble, but all right.
I mean, the cities,
All went well. Good.
even in the city,
I do.
Rumble.
they're gonna spend one.
Yeah.
Rain, well, I don't think rain, it hardly blew, so it sounded like.
Yeah, it sounded-
But
It's talking
I
to
looked,
the
we had
numbers
two
are-
things.
And I didn't pay attention.
I didn't
So-
look at
Huh.
that.
Yeah, the
Well, I
other
could hear
ones
the
are
hail going on last night. I don't know, it's probably different there than,
Did you have some hail?
One time.
yeah, oh yeah.
There was-
Really?
I mean, I didn't get up and look to see how big it was, but I could definitely hear it.
Other-
It wasn't apple size. Like,
That's
Yeah, I
different.
don't think so.
It's different things, civic.
For
Okay.
Civics Plus. I don't know the name of the
Yeah.
company.
My wife used to work with a guy that worked for the same company she worked for.
Well, Commissioner McKinney, I talked to Sheldon this morning and told him I've got the rain off. Okay,
Oh.
so there needs to be some progress today.
Before
Right,
today,
so-
they're talking about rain set.
Yes, they're just,
Speak to that, but what we've seen from their budget.
And I went on board last week.
they did, they got some more curb and guttering.
Yes.
forward and side and stuff.
Surprising stuff.
That's what they're working on. They've got a little bit more curb and guttering to do. Now they've moved to the east side of the building. So the north side curb and guttering is done. They gotta do some of the east side to tie in so they can go back and pour the main part of the driveway on the north side. of the
We would
building.
always
So
bet ahead of time.
Yep.
so
And that
we
should,
know
once they
The curb and
both the curbs that
curb and guttering is what takes forever.
coming around the curb
I
and
bet
then
they're very happy with that.
But somehow it was,
Right, right. So, but yeah, they're getting there with it. But I told them, I said, I got, it held off, so.
yeah,
4 years and
I know.
bye-bye.
No idea how frustrating. Oh,
one of my brothers. His man,
Yeah.
one of his grandkids graduated, they were having a celebration in the evening.
They don't provide one.
Saying,
Yeah.
they're good. But I think held off.
Yeah, there were a few in my neighborhood that
Good morning, how are you?
going on when I was walking the dog. I went, oh, you
about you?
may have some.
Okay. I sound apprehensive for Monday morning.
I had to run over to court there for a little bit.
Oh,
All is good there.
well, they missed a screen sheet in case you missed that.
That's good.
Congratulations on your promotion.
Happy to be here.
And you saw my email this morning.
I did.
Follow up.
I did. So I guess I'll expect a call from him. or-
Yeah, I mean, I didn't argue that point. I thought, okay, well,
Yeah.
but I did mention that we would do that in conjunction, but it was fine. if you didn't want to.
How'd the hearing go?
Very, very short and easy.
Did the guy come?
Yeah, we talked and he was nice, cordial throughout the whole thing and was interested in the process. So I think it was good.
That's the operative word, the process.
Yeah, it certainly is, isn't it? Because it is a process.
That's
You get cedars, but often I put my hand on the fence. Those things get infected. I don't know if it's infected or something, but it irritates. Me. Man, it's. That was Friday.
Yes.
Well, that's what I grabbed something. And it would just, but man. It irritates something.
They're irritated, like they have some kind of chemical.
Of course,
Do you
we
have
don't know
some
if
time
it's
late,
been
not
outside.
now, but later? Okay.
It's 5 years or whatever. I don't know what all was in it.
After commission or?
Yeah, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, there's
Send a
some,
little
there's
stuff in,
pollen
you
coming.
know?
from
Yeah.
some- Well, if it's.
It won't. take-
Trees or where it's going, because I'm getting a load of it every day.
Sound very.
Settle everything.
I was watching live stream of these chasers last night. They were going all through western Kansas and came back up through Nebraska. I think they got to Lexington, Nebraska. It's on the outside of that, but they had a rain wrap, a dust wrap, and I think a hail wrap tornado they were trying to follow. You couldn't see with the dust at all. I mean, at all.
And
It's
we're-
like they picked up all that clay and just strewed it.
But it's an extreme drought around there.
Yeah.
I mean, they needed rain desperately. They didn't need that tornado, but
No,
Did you ever watch that Netflix video on Joplin?
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know.
scary.
Mhm.
And severe thunderstorms develop as early as 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Today?
we can Get out of the lawboard.
We get some rain. Well, hope the longer it stays cloudy, the better, but that dry line's moving a little bit to the
Mm.
east, so just depends on how far it moves.
We get rain, but in the form of a
Large hail damage.
Did you see that?
Well, you don't want large hail.
Colorado,
no.
it just looked like it was snow, it looked like a blizzard. It was just hail. I mean, just.
Right, 'cause I don't have hail on my
Yeah.
car.
That's what I'm worried.
you don't really need that.
Uh-uh.
Did you get any? I had 2 cans.
Yeah, you had more than me. I
Oh,
had
really?
like 0.12.
I got a sprinkle just enough to make everything dirty.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
all I
all
got
I
too.
got. I'm like, why bother?
Just discouraging. But after working all weekend to put a lawn in, I need water.
Do, but not too much water if you just put a lawn in.
Better too much than none,
Well,
because none doesn't do anything.
true. But a whole lot could wash it out and starting over.
I originally did my house, you would have thought was too much in 93, but guess what? Some at least came up.
All right, Dave.
Morning, Commissioners. David Adams, EMS Inspector with my monthly update. So month of April, calls for service 399, which is down a little bit from previous, but especially with being nicer weather, people are out and about and such, but it also means we're transitioning out of the cold and flu season. So it's kind of off and on there. So, but breakdown per stations, Station 1, 144, Station 2, 11 points, 131. Station 3, Public Works, down to 29. And that call volume has shifted mainly to 1 and 21 because of the road construction. So they can't get around on the north side of town. So now Station 1 has to handle most of the nursing homes there, which then, so we've had to change some response areas and change them into dispatch and things like that.
Just blame John.
Well, it's not even, I can't even blame John for this one because I would. But that's why. So we try to bring that truck down when we can to help kind of cover Station 1. Then that just leaves a hole in the middle of the county there. So it's but that's why, and it's going to be that way till they get the road back open. At least hopefully in August, they're talking about having an access road for emergency vehicles. So we'll see. So, but right now, that's why it's cut down the response area quite a bit. So. Airport had 64 and then Leonardville 26. Pretty consistent there. Thing I did forget, I uploaded this. I knew I'd forgot something and kicked myself. But this is National EMS Week. So this week, so kicked off on Sunday. Vivian came out with Abby and Josh and myself and did a walk through the headquarters station. And her and Abby are working on post this week for EMS Week. Josh and I are going to do some things for the crews, put some meals together for the shifts over the course of the week and such in recognition of EMS Week. I've had a couple of people tell me that's great, but don't lose track of getting this building done. So, but at least, they've got their priorities, I guess, but speaking of the building, there's a lot going on. You'd be happy to hear all the flooring is on site. They're putting it in this week, starting today. So that was relief. I think it's biggest relief for Sheldon that he doesn't have to go find new flooring for us. So, but that is on site and being installed starting today.
Getting some kind of a discount or something on that because of.
I think they're just happy that it got here. So, but so that's being done. I know we're doing some testing of the fire alarms on Wednesday. So, but they did have the overhead testing. Everything was signed off on. So all the ceiling panels are in and such. So that is going well. There's a lot of concrete work going on, and I'll get into some of that, show you some of the pictures, but a lot of concrete work going on, a lot of finished work going on inside the building. So they're moving pretty quickly and still kind of slow. Josh and Alex are finishing up their quality improvement safety course. They meet once a week with their mentors, if you will. I believe one of them's from Las Vegas and another one's from the East Coast somewhere. So they're working hard on that, and I'm looking forward to see what they're going to bring forward. Continuing with the mental health working group, task force, and the substance misuse working group and task force. So that continue to move forward. I think the mental health one is kind of, I think, we meet once a month. I usually am able to zoom in on that. I don't know if there's a whole lot going on with their task force or their working group at this point.
I think it's working internally to find out what the identity of the group is and
Right.
how we're going to try to move forward.
Right.
A lot of new faces.
Right.
A lot of new
Then,
faces.
and that occurs. Yeah. So we are still doing planning the staff rotation for moving some staff around to different shifts in August. So when we do this, it usually occurs about August because can't do it in the spring because families and it's school events and then vacations and things like that. So we tried to work around it. So that goes out. They know it's coming. That go out to them this week, I believe. Continue with our documentation training with our staff. We had 100% compliance of that training to be done on time and as requested, which I appreciated. medical director, met with him a couple times here in the last couple weeks over some calls and some reviews, maybe with our policy or our protocols on how we do some things. So, continue to observe their field performance. Event standbys, we had 4, KSU graduation, in Manhattan High graduation, and then a couple days of a track meet. So, but, so kind of quiet.
Guys ever do anything with baseball?
No,
It's no,
we don't.
because it's so close to the hospital.
I think so. The only reason we do something with soccer is, I believe the Big 12 mandates it. So, because we had the same question when they asked us to start doing soccer, it's like, you're across the street, you know? But I believe it's a Big 12, if not an NCAA mandate, that we be on site also. It's the same with track. We have to be there for certain events of the track and field events.
Can't get hit in the head with a baseball. I mean,
Have to have a helmet on. I know. The concussions with soccer, I think, are a big part of it. So,
okay.
but our annual active violence training is coming up here next week, the 27th, 28th, and 29th. The working group for that, they're changing it up quite a bit. You know, we've been doing this every year for quite some time. And it's always been in buildings, usually in a school, just because we can get into an empty building. You know, it's hard to get into an empty office building to do this training, but we can get into different buildings there. But this is the first year it's outside. So it's going to be at Bishop Stadium, and we're looking forward to that. I can't wait to see it, but that's where it's going to be. So hopefully the weather cooperates, but those events happen during the weather too. And that's just how it is. So they had an emergency pediatric care program classes last week, went well. And everything else is just continuing as is. Any questions about that before I get into the building?
Because that's so many event standbys, we get paid for those.
Yes, we bill for those, absolutely. So. Well, that's in there twice. So electrical or with BHS. So April 11th, you can kind of see where we've been. So fixtures, fire alarm devices, installed. I think most of the pole lights are in, not all of them quite yet. The signage is in on the front of the building. It's not hooked up yet, but it's in. It should be hooked up this week. So you can see where they started working on the exterior enclosures for the generator and the MTS. So the different points of what it is a beehive of activity. It's starting to slow down because they're getting finished. So there's not as much there, but so these lights are all now installed. All of this is done. This parking area is what they're getting ready to work on now. Part of it is done. Yeah, both of the north and south sides are done, but the middle is not. So that is the next step. So there's kitchen, and then the hallway kitchen cabinets or the appliances are being installed this week. Everything is on site there. We had worried about the stove, but it arrived 4 days earlier than anticipated. So perfect timing. So. And then, as I talked about the curb and guttering, that is what's taken so long. This is the admin side, so the east side. They've got, this is all poured now. Now they're starting to work over here alongside the road. And then they'll move back by the apparatus bay. So the IT closets are impressive. There's a lot of wires there, and they're all plugged in and hooked up, and it's impressive. Somebody who has a whole lot more patience than I do did that. So, and then here's where we are currently. They've wired up the doors and exhaust fans in the admin side as well as the apparatus bay. So they put in the handicapped buttons and all of that, and have that. I believe it's working. They've got finished, I believe, the lightning protection. There's a little rods standing up on side of the top of the building throughout the building. So I think all of those are finished. As I said, they're working on tying in the vestibule, continue to work on curb. All of that is now done by the FCRC. So that is all tied in and completed. So, but this is where they are. So this is a building outside at night. Looks really, really pretty. Can't wait to see the lights up and the signs when they're lit up this week. So Vivian's going to get those pictures taken for Facebook. This is where they are currently on the admin side. They've got to pour this here coming up. So the blue stripes inside the bays are up. I really didn't know what I was going to think of them, but they really break up that big empty shelf there. It makes it look not quite as big. So it turned out really, really well. So MCM has been in, they've put in a lot of exterior topsoil and gotten that ready. So like we're waiting on at some point, Blueville will come in and start putting in the sprinkler system and start planting. My understanding is that all the plants are in, or everything that they need is in. So now it's just a matter of time of when they're allowed to get in there.
They probably won't do grass till probably the end of the year, won't they?
I don't know what they're gonna do.
I guess.
So
Sod and sprinkled, so.
They sod.
should,
Okay.
yeah.
So
I
they got
haven't-
sprinklers, that'll work, I guess, yeah.
That, me asking that question to Sheldon, he might put him a little over the top here. So I'm trying to, because I have had that thought, but that I'm not even gonna. So, but
That was just an assumption from me. I
sure, no, absolutely.
didn't affect operations.
So.
It's gonna be to go watch football this week.
They're in, and we even, Josh and I were walking through it on Friday, and there's a little control panel. And because there's not any computers in there, but we turned on the control panel, we called Corey. So from that room, so we're not quite sure how it works, but it works. So, but Corey answered and everything, so we talked all through it, so. Good deal. All right,
David,
thank you.
thanks for the press conference, 9:30. Great, can I use your microwave?
At the pictures, it looks like that dry line is gonna move a little more to the east than they anticipated.
Very good. I mean,
John, what's a dry line? What do you mean by dry line?
Well, it's kind of the separation and kind of warm, cool air. Or
So
cool
it's like-
air, yeah, versus the
That's
warm
what-
air, and then that line right there that fills in is where you get all your energy and instability, and storms will usually form to the east of that typically, and they,
Thanks.
depending on how strong it is, it could be single storms or it could be a whole cluster.
Yeah. That makes sense. I wasn't familiar with that word.
I think the one thing that's helping us, there won't be the warm air going aloft because of the clouds. It gets sunny. It's not a real strong jet stream. There's some,
That's for today.
yeah. Supposed to be really cool tomorrow, like in the mid-60s.
Nice, I'll take it.
What happens when the dry line comes through and then brings all that cool air?
All right.
So
Can make it on time?
could, if there's a reimbursement for EMS, can that go into like reserve so that it becomes part of next year? You know what I'm asking?
It's in the budget. It's figured in the budget.
Well, what I mean is, but if
Thanks for letting me know.
if it's figured in the budget, you're telling me
Revenue.
it's not taxed then, it's not tax revenue.
No,
This
it's
is,
revenue. but
yeah,
it's
this
revenue.
project is.
No, I'm talking about the EMS revenue.
Standby. No, it's figured in in our budget. There's revenue figured from the EMS standbys and everything.
Outside of property tax.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking about RCPD also, because they're looking, they get reimbursed from KSU.
There'd be a line item.
I have
in there
that
would-
question.
Good.
We need on budget.
How'd that hearing go?
Easy. Got pushed out a little longer than I wanted to, but because everybody had conflicts. But I need the extra time to get up to speed and all that, so. We'll take it. See how much they can fight it, because right now we're gonna have to set a hearing on which is the admitted complaint. And that's because, well, you know what, I'll talk a little bit about it on my.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're on, Alvin.
Okay, Alvin Perez, Operations Manager for Riley County. Today, Commissioners, I'm here to let you know that on May sixth, during our business meeting of the Kansas County Highway Association Spring Conference in Hayes, I had the privilege as the chairman of the awards committee of presenting the Highway Official of the Year Award for 2024 to the Riley County Public Works Director, County Engineer John Ellerman. His 29 years of service in county administration and engineering, his accomplishments in both Finney County and Riley County, along with his dedication to Kansas County Highway Association, serving as our president of the association in 2016, and his continued willingness to serve on committees made him an excellent recipient for this award. So that's what I have. I condensed it down a lot. I can't go that long again.
His choice of baseball teams doesn't count in that book.
Just for today. No. I got off the stage last time without having to say anything to them. Really, it's because of guys like Alvin and the whole crew that make me to be able to do what I do, and I enjoy about every minute of it, just about.
Just
You know, but it's pretty rewarding, and I appreciated every minute, everything they've done.
Congratulations, John.
Congratulations, John.
Okay, and let's do the full suite of pictures, so if you would.
Yeah.
Guess you weren't gonna get away with it. Huh?
No. Yeah, I mean, at least you got that.
I saw a bunch of pictures from that event. Looked like you guys had fun.
You're good.
And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, yeah. I wouldn't move those just yet.
Yeah, that's true.
And
You got
Got
it.
one with our signatures on.
No?
Official one.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas mental health is an essential part of overall well-being, impacting individual families and communities across Riley County, Kansas. Whereas 1 in 5 American adults experiences a mental health condition each year, and everyone faces challenges in life that can impact their mental health. Whereas despite its prevalence, mental health remains shrouded in stigma, preventing many from seeking help. Whereas early intervention and access to quality care are crucial for managing mental health conditions and improving quality of life. Whereas May is recognized nationally as Mental Health Awareness Month. Therefore, Riley County does proclaim May 2025 as Mental Health Month and calls upon the businesses, schools, government agencies, healthcare providers, organizations, and citizens of Riley County to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health. Excuse me. Its relationship to a strong, vibrant community, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions.
Okay,
We
we need photo. Okay. Well, how do we do this? Since I brought a copy.
No.
What do you want to
This
take
is your
pictures?
copy.
Okay.
Try both.
Okay, great. Well, then I need y'all to sign this.
Okay.
Do it without signature. Then we don't want that problem. They can each hold one. Oh, you want me to-
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. I'm not. Perfect. All right.
Vivian's turn?
That's what it says. Somebody else
One more.
will be in the picture, but-
Oh, whoops.
Would you like to put it in? No.
Simple as that.
Okay.
And 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Wonderful, thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Okay. You guys want a copy?
Jacob.
So we've got a copy of ours.
Okay. Well, you can have a copy.
Here,
first.
that'll work. We can take.
Okay. Crowd all left after all the zip line.
Already? Early in the morning. executive session.
Yeah, with that said, I'll go ahead and move the county commission, including Chairman McKinley, Vice Chair Foki, and Commissioner Ford recess into executive session on potential litigation for the purpose of consultation with Jacob Hansen, interim county counselor, attorney for the commission, and a Burson County appraiser, and John Elliman, Public Works Director, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, an exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act, and the open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 9:55 a.m.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded for the county commission to recess into executive session for the reasons previously stated under the attorney-client relationship exception to the Kansas Open Meeting Act. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The meeting is live.
I'll go ahead and move that the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
Second that.
Been moved and seconded for the Board of County Commissioners to come out of executive session. All in favor?
Also move that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded and the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm first up.
No, actually, in the grand scheme of things, you're the last one up.
Really? Well, not for today.
For
but
budget.
of all the-
For budget.
of all the requests.
I say, I can wait. So, all right, well, I thank you for having me today. My name is Christine Benny. I'm the Director of Military Affairs at Greater Manhattan Community Foundation, but on my volunteer side, I'm also the Flint Hills Veterans Coalition President. And I have with me Christian, who is with the Manhattan Chamber. She's our secretary and all around keeps everything straight. But I just wanted to, again, come in and thank you all for your continued support of the Flint Hills Veterans Coalition. This year, we're excited. We'll be having our parade on Tuesday, November 11th. It will again go from the mall to City Hall. And we are just starting to put out the information as far as participants, people that want to be in the parade. Each year, we're able to have over 1,000 participants. We're kind of one of the largest parades in the state of Kansas, so we're always proud of that. We have anywhere, all kinds of people that are part of the parade. We have school children, we have veterans organizations, we have businesses, we have other nonprofits that are in the area. They come from not only Manhattan, but the surrounding areas. And so this year, our theme, sure I read it right. Our theme is Guardians of Our Nation, honoring the reserve forces. So this year is the anniversary of the National Guard and the reserves. And so we will be honoring all those who serve in our National Guard and our reserve components. They will be our Grand Marshal, and they will also be a speaker. We will have a speaker from either the National Guard, Reserve, or some type of component. And then also, hopefully they'll be doing our color guard during the service as well. And then along with that, we also have senior leadership from Fort Riley that come. We'll ask you all to be there. So mark that on your calendar, November 11th, which is a Tuesday. All right.
It's already on.
And then we will, and then of course, our community and county and state leadership as well will be there. Each year with the money that you all give to us and support us with, we use that for our parade. We use it for the just cost of putting on the parade. We also, we do use some of the money for other sponsorship that we get. We also use it for scholarships from MATC, from K-State, and also the Manhattan Christian College. We also have help with a essay contest that we will have again this year. The VFW will be helping us along with that. And then we also sponsor some other organizations. Oh, and of course, we start out the day with the breakfast. Yeah. So, but we're really looking forward to it this year. We are ready to go. We just had a meeting with our marketing person and our volunteer that does all of our marketing. So that information should be out, and we'll probably be sending out save the dates sometime in the middle of the summer. So with that, if you have any questions, again, appreciate it. And we'll be coming back probably closer late October for our proclamation.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right, there's no questions. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Christian, is there anything you want to add? Okay.
And we'll still do Operation Greenlight, so.
Yes, we can talk in advance on that one this year. I've got some ideas.
Right. Oh, and then also,
John.
you know, I did with the Operation Greenlight, I also wanted to share that Flag Day, which is June 14th, which is also the 250th anniversary of the Army. We will be doing Flag Day. We're working with Stormy Kennedy and Mel Borst and helping them put that on. So it'll be June 14th at 9 a.m. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
The last people standing, huh?
I guess so, huh? It's gonna chill.
Like I can tell you. Yeah. Well, I can tell you. They mark all every single amount. Yeah, they did. So. He's allergic to mosquitoes. So he gets a huge reaction. Yeah. I think they're out already. Yeah, that little bit of wind. And so. They also knew boys were Thursday. So we went outside with him for a little bit. Didn't go to the spring. Yeah, and I was like, the whole weekend. This is your fault. I had to leave work, had to cancel my entire afternoon. So you didn't, you had to leave work. Yeah, they called me at 9:30, so before 9:30. We're freaking out. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. We've never seen this before. I'm not freaking out. Yeah, I'm like, I see it all the time, breathe. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, but it was all over. I was like, you guys, he would have had to like, a lot of spiders, like think about it, like breathe for a second. They're like, oh, we've seen the spiders, I just killed one this morning, and I was like, okay. His dad said he was bit by a spider once, and now Henry wants to do every single dog that that's what he's been by. Yeah, like just like breathe. And so then their kids like, get me out. She's like, okay, call me, let me know what happens. I'm like, okay. That's fine. Also, did you? No, I called the doctor's office and they had an appointment at 10:10 and I got there just in time, so. You, John. Change is happening. Yeah. Community environment, yeah, being able to.
Probably not gonna be mine.
Yeah.
Down.
Like I needed work for probably like 15 minutes. Yeah, I think less than 5 minutes. Yeah. With a little bit of nail.
I'll take it upstairs with me that way I can. I'll offer him. Yep.
That's been a lot of. We've got a lot of.
How you been?
Doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I looked at it.
Get moved?
No, I got 13 days. 13 days.
Yeah, that animal.
Yep.
Down.
Oh, yeah. We're going to Indianapolis this weekend.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we're gonna have to come back and then basically you have to have everything all ready packed by now, which I think we have for the most part.
Yeah.
Home to look at.
I'm gonna hire movers to do it. You gonna do it?
No, we're gonna do it all ourselves. Well, we're gonna have her family help a little
Yeah.
bit, and then they're also gonna help on.
No.
We did it.
Where is it?
We've done it ourselves a few times. We have moved since we've been together every year for the past like 5 years. I know. I'm really hoping that this is the one that sticks, we stick this one for a while. Although the other problem is this place doesn't have a basement. Casey's terrified of it. So now she's like, if we can find somewhere that has the basement, that would be great. So.
Well, then, yeah, then you're not stuck.
Yeah, I'm not stuck. So.
Yeah. Well, she can come to my house. She can be in our basement. I don't care.
There you go. Appreciate it. No, we got, my best friend, he lives not too far from where we're gonna be.
Nice.
So.
Nice.
They got one, so we got a
Nice.
place, but thanks.
Nice.
Have you finally got all your stuff back?
Well, we're not unpacked, but
It's at least there.
I mean,
but it's there.
That's a plus. I mean, that's good.
It's okay.
Why?
Yeah, stop right here, yeah.
Well, and see, every time, like here, when we request, an itemization, we get it.
No, I have block of trees that I have purchased over the years that are still.
I guess he doesn't have to do that.
I'm kidding.
Believe it or not.
Because- So I worked in a place previously, I couldn't wear toe shoes.
Yeah, it's-
I love them. They're so cute. So.
What's the other?
Yeah, we can have no detail.
That attorney.
Yeah, so we do have some sparkly. Sparkly juice, but I'm like. And she's like, hey, never. She didn't talk. Her name was. Yeah.
I'm always on the board. Yeah.
Like halfway for free one. Yeah.
Again, 2 minutes.
About to ready to just run through it about as quick as I possibly can.
Yeah, the ties and socks, always. So that's your thing. Hers are shoes, yours are clothes.
No, I'm wandering around when I'm in my house.
Yeah,
I'm probably
that's
losing
your
my
fault
dog.
for that.
Oh, where to put it? And
But
it's laying
that's
right
probably you don't
there.
have somebody to call you. When we lose,
Yeah.
when one of us loses our, the other one calls it, we go find it.
I have a thing on my iPad, so if I can't find it, all I can do is find your phone.
Oh, really?
thing, And it starts beeping somewhere.
Doesn't look like we're, the house is vacant. Now got out and mowed and
You went outside?
I did, and I cut weeds down.
Wow.
I know, I know, I was outside for like 4 hours. And I wore sunscreen.
Good job.
I know, half the battle.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
So
Alrighty, good morning, Commissioners. Jacob Hansen, interim county councilor here to give you a very brief and quick update of what's going on here in our office and some of the big ticket items. First thing that I want to bring to your attention is on the tax sale. We got the order and notice of tax sale filed on Friday last week. And so that's going to take place on June 27th. We got that all wrapped up. And just will be doing some administrative work until that point. The second point that I want to bring up is that you guys are likely, of course, aware that we had the RHID task force discussion last week as well. My plan is to speak with you guys and give you kind of a debriefing on that on Thursday this week during my admin time, and kind of get some direction from you guys on that. As far as any other large matters, of course, I have that case today on the nuisance abatement regarding Gary Kilner. We just that some more as I will respond the motion to have things were taken space made longer that the other folks have been a little bit more willing to work together and try to get this thing resolved without having to do much litigation on it. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. All the other items in our office have been going relatively smoothly, all things considered, and I stand for any questions that you guys may have. All right, very good.
Thanks, Jacob. Next commission, we have Elizabeth Rand, 10:15.
You got. Which minute?
Yeah, sure.
And you're filling in.
I can start.
And with
listening session.
She
On
can-
the way.
Okay. Thank God.
Yeah, the budget person up there, she'd say just cut. That's fine.
Necessarily, I think there's needs in some areas.
Apologies, Commissioners. I had printed my agenda before the adjustment and I was tracking 10:30, so I am here now. Elizabeth Ward.
I thought you just wanted to propose any.
I was like, okay, we're just
Yeah,
we're
just
just
not
done.
gonna propose any
Yeah,
of
you
these.
were hopeful. I know.
He called me out. I was like, oh. He was like, she's on her way. I was like, thank God.
Looking at the watch, but I had the wrong time. So Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director. Again, apologies for being a minute late. So we do have the new and expanded position requests for 2026, and I have asked the department heads to come and speak on their specific request. As you all know, this is the process that we have used for years to ask the department heads to really think about what positions they need, to assess how that would affect Riley County, and then we put a budget proposal to that. So I've also included in in the packet information from all of them. So we have a justification or reason for needing each position, as well as the drafted, or if we've already got the job description complete, that job description attached. So I think it would be best if we just go ahead and have Catherine. All right. You want to scroll down to anything that you have presented, that's fine as well.
Good morning, Commissioners. Catherine Hensler, Director of the Riley County Historical Museum. This morning, I'm coming to you concerning the request for an expanded position or expanded positions at the museum. And this is in consideration of the as-needed museum assistants. So I am proposing a pay increase, or I should say a total request increase of $10,509 on my budget. And the reason for that increase is we need our as-needed museum assistants a bit more time-wise than what we have currently budgeted in the past. And you all are aware of the museum's current situation of our backlog. And really that is where this request stems from. This is a 45% increase in last year's budget on that as needed part-time non-permanent staff line item. Last year I requested $21,450. This year I'm requesting $31,200. That is of course, like I mentioned, a 45% increase. And this will allow, well, I guess I'll real quickly say, the as-needed positions are classified to get no more than 1,000 hours a year. Right now, I have some of my as-needed assistants working about 500 hours. Others are coming in around 200 hours. I'm requesting that each be provided an average of about 520 hours per year. And I did break it down. I won't go through all of this text, but with the current open hours of the museum, we're open 2,080 hours a year. And I'm proposing just to be able to have one as needed museum assistant at the museum for every one of those open hours. If we don't have this coverage, the curators and myself have to step away from our professional roles and provide tours. That is not the best use of our money or my staff's talent. The museum assistants do a great job. I have to say we have 4 of them who have been on staff for at least a year. Excuse me. And they are well trained. They assist the curators. They provide tours. They're really what is helping us support the cleaning up of this backlog. This request also is not including, I'm not putting any new tasks on the as-needed museum assistants. These are just the tasks that they were hired to do
but again, helping us in more depth to go through that 40 years of backlog. And right now they are assisting the archivist, they're assisting the curator of education, and they are assisting the curator of collections. Lastly, I do want to mention, and I know you are aware of this, but I just wanted to bring this up so there's no confusion. We do have a permanent part-time museum assistant. That is Hal Days, who is funded through the Historical Society. So they do provide a $20,000 grant for that position. I'm not requesting anything extra for that position. This is just specifically for the as needed. If we are not able to do this increase, I do have a few proposals. One is that I can attempt to go to the Historical Society and ask for additional funding to support these as needed hours that are much needed. Also, we can, what we may have to do if we cannot get those staff positions is we may have to limit or lessen the hours of the Goodnow House and the museum as far as open hours. We also, I mentioned in my text here, and I don't want to go too far into it, but we have attempted to train and recruit volunteers for these roles, and it just has not been successful. We don't seem to have a shortage of people who want to help with archives and collections, but they're not something we can just introduce a brand new volunteer to and say, handle our collection. We do need trained volunteers. It usually takes a good couple weeks to train someone just to be able to do collections 101. And oftentimes our volunteers are not willing to stick that out and we lose those volunteers. So we have tried volunteers. It has not been effective. We will continue always to try recruiting volunteers. But again, that's been an issue that could help reduce the cost that we just have not been successful with. And then the final solution would just simply be our professional staff will have to fill those as needed roles, provide tours, handle phone calls, welcome people at the front desk. So again, I thank you for considering this request this year. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your consideration.
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Lewis, Director of Community Corrections. I am here today to discuss the expanded position for, or hours for our juvenile intake and on-call officers. We previously, we currently have budgeted for 420 hours, and in the past, we had budgeted for 650. The previous director made a plan to cut those hours, thought that it would be feasible to cut them down to 420. And what we found is it's very unrealistic. So as you know, juvenile intake and assessment covers 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. And then on Fridays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then 24 hours Saturday and 24 hours on Sunday. So anytime those individuals get called out, that's where the hours come from these 420 that we currently have budgeted for. In addition, their training and shadowing hours come out of that as well. So the state requires certain training that they have to go through, as well as in-person shadowing to have enough time and experience to be independent out in the field. So we are here today to ask for that to be expanded back to 600 hours, not 650 where it had previously been, but from 420 to 600.
Those folks, even when they're on call, they aren't paid, they're only paid when they get called out. So
They have a daily stipend. However, when they get called
I
out,
think it'd be worth it just, then you could get something just for having to hang around all night.
Right. Yes, they do have that daily stipend. And then when they get called out, that's the on-call hours that this is talking about, is that.
Okay,
hourly.
stipend separate from this?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Good question. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're not. I can't even read my own.
I see.
Oh.
Good morning, Commission. Corey Meyer, ITGIS Director. Your list will show that one is an expanded with no cost change. It's a title and responsibilities change. of the systems and software analyst. My 2 years, 3 years now as director, I tried to hang on to some of the technology responsibilities to help the office and my role as director and trying to maintain those and do those efficiently. It just become too much for me. So there are 6 software applications and areas that have been reassigned to another staff, as well as taking 2 that from our network administrator and move those in and combine with another. There's no change in any of the costs of that one, but it is listed there, and I wanted to give an explanation to that. My additional position request, here's the software analyst and how it is written. And on your sheet, it will show that there isn't a change. It's a direct report to the network administrator and then to me. My expanded request is for a network security analyst. This is our biggest area of growth is in security that we've had in the last 3 to 5 years. We're running into where we've got a lot of the right tools in place, but we're not having the manpower to properly manage them, to properly review the logs, to go through and make the changes that are necessary. I want to get us out of where we're feeling like we're getting into a reactive and getting into a proactive in regards to security. So that need is for someone to be reviewing logs, events, security rules, making changes, working with, whether it's the state of Kansas, whether it's vendors that we have to work with, elections has been a big area where we've had to do a lot of work in the last couple of years. The courts and their security changes and that they've, and what we've had to do with them, RCPD and our connections with them and what we have to do with security. It's a constant and evolving, and right now we are busy day to day. And so one of those calls, one of those changes, the changes in the KC just audit that we're going through right now and what those effects will have are going to pull us away and take away from the day-to-day duties and responsibilities that we have. A little bit about why also we need this position is that Riley County has changed from what I would call one security blanket over the whole county to now 3 campuses, 3 security blankets. And within each one of those, each department also has its own set of security rules and who they can and can't talk to. And those are having to be managed weekly, even monthly, as interaction is needed between departments and things that we're needing to manage. And so our list of security rules, policies, and things that we have to manage and maintain have grown 100%, it feels like, because we've had to triple and quadruple a lot of our rules across all the departments and so forth. As I said, there was elections, courts, some other areas, EMS, and some equipment they're getting now has some very high secure pieces that we need to manage their traffic. Every ambulance has an internet connection in it that we've done over the last 2 years, and managing that traffic, keeping them secure. The security for readers, fobs, and so forth has increased by 30 in the last 2 years. The number of cameras that we have has increased by more than 50 in the last 2 years, 3 years. So all of those pieces are needing somebody to properly manage, maintain, and go through those. This is a trend that's being seen. There are several other counties out there, including cities, who are now asking for their specific security analyst person so that we can do everything we can to prevent an event or an incident. If I was to sum it up, I would say that we need somebody so that we can be managing thoroughly. The hackers and attackers are getting more clever. They're getting more sophisticated. And if we can't properly manage and use the tools we have in place, then well, we don't want to be the next headline. And that's what we're trying to prevent. You all are very aware. Certainly will answer any questions that you might have. But if we don't get it, it's just going to mean more hours, more time away, added to our days of my exempt staff so that we can try to keep our security level where it needs to be.
Corey, do you want to mention that you had actually gone down staffing? So this is just, I think it's relevant that you had re-examined, gone down this position. You've
Yeah.
gone down and now have the need for it
That is true. Thank you.
for years.
3 years ago, I did do a reduction of staff, to make sure that we were being efficient, that we were not overstaffed at that time. I wanted to prove that there was a need for this one additional position. And now through our growth throughout the county, additional buildings, functionalities, the amount of hardware we're taking care of now, I could truly come forward and stand here and say that it is a need and that we are not overstaffed at this time. And I wanted to prove that. And I've had many of conversations with my staff about the need for the last year. And so I believe that it is a worthy ask of you to add this position and move forward. So. Okay. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to request a new position as a billing and coding position for mainly the clinic and MCH. With the administrative changes in the last year, the fiscal analyst did the billing and coding, but it was just too much. It was, the job was too big, and if that change hadn't happened, I'd be here asking for a separate biller and coder anyway with the fiscal analyst. The biller and coder right now is Jacob Clark with the clinic. And so he's doing all the billing and coding, plus he's trying to manage the clinic. With the complications of new insurances and the new, they change their rules all the time and they make it more complicated to collect insurance. It's getting harder all the time, takes more time. It's hard for Jacob to work denials because, you know, it takes a lot of time, and at his salary range, it's just not worth it half the time. So it's also important for separation of duties because he's running the clinic. So if he happens to get anything with his family or himself done at the clinic, then technically is not supposed to get into his own chart or his family's charts or any of his friends' charts. So that creates kind of a conflict and potentially a HIPAA breach. So really we need to get a separate biller and coder to make us more compliant with audits and with separation of duties for the billing. If we don't get this position, we'll have to continue doing what we're doing now, which is using Jacob for his billing capabilities. And we won't be able to expand the clinic. It'll be hard to go out into the rural communities because he's only got so much time. And the billing takes an incredible amount of time. So he would never complain about it, but I've seen him do it, and it takes an incredible amount of time. We don't have any other staff currently who can absorb the work. We've been teaching a couple of different staff people, just kind of the basics as backups, but as far as a full-time biller or coder, we don't have the staff on board. So is there any questions that I can answer for you?
Diane, you, Sharon, maybe Jacob is more knowledgeable, but we did have another position, full-time position in the clinic.
Yes.
And the previous director, at behest of Jacob and agreed with HR, took down a position in the clinic. It wasn't exactly a biller coder, it was a coordinator, but we did have that budgeted, I think, 2 years now. So we did have a position there historically, and Jacob has absorbed those duties as well as the billing and coding.
Yeah.
And I would mention too, that the job description for the previous fiscal analyst as well as the current one didn't actually include billing and coding as part of its job description. It was never paid for that type of work. It's just something that morphed over time and just kind of got absorbed and we saw it became overwhelming and not timely, couldn't be processed timely. And then did you want to talk a little bit, or maybe Jacob does, you guys have expanded insurance.
Yeah, we continue to take more insurances, which makes it that much more complicated. Also, if we can be more efficient with our billing and coding, then we can potentially cover the cost of this position every year with insurance reimbursements. So, yeah, it's been a struggle for Jacob, and he just never complains. So, my kudos to him because he's really not complained at all. But I can see it. Yeah.
I
No,
think we all agree that there will be some amount of additional reimbursement or income coming in from the expanded insurance and the person being able to really dedicate time. I don't think we have a number. That's a hard number to estimate. Erin, you might be the most skilled at estimating a number, so I don't know that we have that. I know, Jacob, you've put some ideas together, but we all agree there will be some additional income. We don't know the amount that it might be though. And if you guys disagree with that, if you have a better knowledge than I do, please.
If Jacob's doing it part-time, I guess, in
Yeah.
effect, on top of everything else, why do we need a full-time person?
because it's not he's doing the best he can with the time that he has, because he's still managing the clinic and managing the staff and all that down there. But if we have a full-time coder and biller, so if a provider accidentally doesn't code a procedure right, then the coder would be knowledgeable enough to code at a higher level, so that we would get reimbursed better. The biller will be able to work all the denials, which take a lot of time, which Jacob doesn't have time to do right now. We would be probably more timely. I know he does the best he can. So I can't ever put any extra pressure on him because it's like, he's just doing the best he can. And he stepped in where he didn't need to, it wasn't required of him, but I think we would be more efficient with a full-time.
Can I interject?
Yeah, can you talk about right up?
Yeah, so I can, oh, we have.
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Erin Kurtz. I'm the fiscal analyst. So from a billing and coding perspective, when it comes to not having a dedicated personnel, what we're looking at right now is that we have somebody who is part-time kind of covering in those gaps. When you are looking at new health insurances, additional insurances, or even current insurances that we have, the problem that not only Riley County, but other medical facilities, even within the area, often face is that they are changing our timely filing rules. So we have some insurances that say, hey, you have 90 days to get a claim in. If you don't get it in within that first 90 days, you are mandated to write it off. If you do go ahead and make those timely of those claims, they are making those CPT codes or any kind of billing that we do send to those insurance companies. If they don't agree with how we code, it's not necessarily that the services weren't done. It's just how we've coded it, how we've put it. If there are rules behind those codes, they'll send it back and say, hey, you need to go ahead and work this denial. Those denial management pieces take a lot of time. And I can just say from historical and previous roles that I've been in, those denial pieces probably are not being accurately worked as often as they should be. Not because, Jacob isn't trying, but just because it does take a lot of time to dig in line by line on each service provided per patient to go in and figure out what that insurance company is saying is wrong, and then actually resubmitting and then getting those funds. If you look at new insurances, TRICARE, they are wonderful, and we have such a big population in the area. They are very complex. They have taken over part of the Medicaid within the state of Kansas, and they've taken over the Blue Cross Blue Shield has kind of taken over that TRICARE piece and Medicaid piece within the state of Kansas. With that being said, it is a pain to kind of get credentialed with them, and it is a constant touch, and then trying to constantly kind of get those pieces out to them appropriately and get then those monies that we do get kind of back into our pockets. So right now, I will say from a financial perspective, we are not capturing as much money as we could be, just because we don't have the capacity with the staff that we currently have.
Can I add something too? Yeah. Brittany Phillips, Budget and Finance Officer, sorry. Just on the accounts receivable side, so like when those checks from insurance companies do come in, Jacob is then, you know, like telling us where that money has to be broken down to. So if we get a $200 check and 100 goes to immunizations, and then 50 to state formula, and then 50 to family planning, that takes time too, because then he has to go in and see what all they approved. And so that is taking an additional amount of time, and then it takes longer for us to get those receipts into the treasurer's office. And so really this is all about creating better efficiencies and increasing our revenue as well, because we really are not capturing all the revenue that we could for this.
Brittany or Aaron, in your previous experience, do you know, is this a service that can be contracted out with, kind of like ambulance service does?
So yes, so there are third-party billing agencies out there. From my experience, I will say that I've hit many issues with these third-party agencies, with it being that they will go ahead and bill those services out, but they're not looking at under or over coding, which you don't want to under or over code. The other thing is that most of them, unless you pay an additional fee, will not work a denial management. So what they'll do is they will bill it. If it gets kicked back from that insurance company, it will then be sent back to Jacob and say, hey, listen, you need to go figure out why this is wrong. And then Jacob ultimately would be the one to go ahead and bill out anyways. Another perspective or another issue that I've hit with these third-party billing is that they go in and once they hit a denial, they'll just write it off. They won't work that denial. They will just go ahead and say, hey, it's a contractual write-off that you're going to go ahead and take as a county.
You said the ambulance does.
That's what they do with their billing.
Is that
They
a
contract
charge,
out.
or do they, I mean, is it charged, or do they get a percentage?
They get a percentage.
They get a percentage of the payments, is that?
And we had in a budget and planning session previously had discussion about that possibly being an option when we were discussing this position. That's why I brought it up. We previously discussed, but it never pursued.
I do have a question, Diane. We did just transfer the financial analyst to your department, and then you're asking for another person. So your budget's gonna really expand.
Yes.
And I'm not, I don't have the budget. in front of me,
Yes,
so
yes.
About how much is all that gonna add?
The salary for the fiscal analyst, counting the benefits. So the total cost would be $72,366.
That's for the new position.
That's for the new
For the
position,
existing
yeah.
position.
For the existing position, there's actually a contraction. So the new person makes less than the incumbent had made, so less than we had budgeted. So there's not an additional cost than what you had already previously budgeted for the fiscal analyst position.
But she's talking about the new position. You're talking about.
Yeah, she asked about both. So there's, that is
but
that is the
both of
only
them we're
increase.
gonna do to the
This year's
budget.
budget, it was already in, it wasn't called that position
Yeah,
exactly, but that
correct.
was already, that's true, it was already in this year's.
Yes, so that is the
budget.
only dollar amount increase that the health
But-
department would see.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can counteract that with insurance billing, and help pay for that.
And they did project that on their budgets, an increased revenue if this position is approved. So if you don't approve this position, then we'll need to go back and rework their organization budget for that revenue.
Well, and that's kind of the question I have is, you have these numbers, why aren't they included with the original budget presentation? So we can look at it all at the same time.
Are you talking about the new and expanded positions or?
Well, yeah, to put the expanded positions, all the budget requests.
Yes, my issue with it is we should be doing this later in June after we have all of our total information,
Well,
and
we're
then
not-
we can figure that out. I mean,
Not
it's okay.
proving- Not
Yeah, I
proving
know,
any of
I know.
this today.
I
This is
understand
just
that.
like any other.
But it's hard to,
request.
it's hard to start thinking about them until
Until we
you
get there.
have all.
Right.
And that's what we're asking, for you just to start thinking, giving you this, and then if you have things, okay, go back and look at the contract, go back and look at part-time, go back and that. We have that time till at least mid-June, whenever, because we don't generally ask you to make a decision until you're ready to approve the whole budget.
Yeah, and we work that into our COLA numbers. So like after we have these discussions, we go and start looking at, like we already have our total impact of COLA calculated right now. So then we'll start adding in these positions to see what the final impact would be if you were to approve all of them. And then, last year, I think maybe you approved 2, 3, maybe, I'm not sure. But then we went back and you had those numbers updated, so.
But you're saying you're gonna add COLA in addition to these numbers?
We'd add that at the bottom line. We do every year.
For new positions?
Yes, they don't.
But
when
why,
they
why
wanna
do you
get-
total on a new position?
Yeah.
This number that they have, this number has, it's the 2026 projected rate.
Okay,
This,
sorry.
this number will have the impact of COLA if COLA is approved. If you don't approve COLA, this actual number that they're requesting will be more.
Okay,
So-
these numbers.
But our whole total for COLA will have to reflect all the positions that you approve.
The budgets we've gotten presented so far, I assume the health department didn't include financial and the clerk did. That's just a matter of, it's not, it doesn't increase our budget, but it just has to be taken out of the clerk and
Right.
put back into.
Not
health,
necessarily,
right?
because we removed the fiscal analyst from Rich's budget after it was signed last Monday. We removed it before his presentation on Thursday. However, it was obviously not
wasn't
in
ever-
Diane's.
Oh, okay.
And so,
That's, I was just wondering which,
Yes.
how that.
yeah, so it is in Diane's now, and we're gonna bring it back to represent
Oh, okay.
in a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. That's what I was just wondering. I mean, I realize it's gotta be one or the other, but right now it's only it's not anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
If
Well,
it's
and
taken
well-
out of his and not put into hers, it's nowhere.
Yeah, in the original presentation that Diane gave you, the fiscal analyst was not listed in there.
Right.
However, in Rich's budget, it was also not listed in there.
Right. So I could say
Yes,
we've
yes,
got
that is correct.
That's gotta be,
Because we had removed it, I
I'm-
mean, based on, yeah,
I'm not criticizing, I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
make,
yeah.
understand where it's going.
right, yeah, and that's why we're gonna bring it back with that change and then, looking at the indirect cost for WIC and, stuff like that. So we're gonna bring health department back.
Oh, okay.
And to clarify what I mentioned to Catherine, a previous job that was budgeted for 2025 cost more than the current person in the job. So there's not an increase to what we currently have projected to spend for that fiscal analyst position.
Okay. And but you don't really earn COLA before you start for the next year, do you? Don't you have to work a year before you get COLA?
So that, I would consider that more merit. So that would be what you earn throughout the year. The COLA is a slide to the entire pay scale, whatever percentage you decide. So if I'm first year's employee, I make $20 an hour. Next year I will make 2% more if I continue to be employed. If I also do a great job and get a high evaluation, then I would get a merit increase.
That
for
would
the
be
work
for
I did.
27.
Yes, depending when this person wouldn't be obviously not hired for 25, so there's no merit increase until 27.
But when we approve the COLA, it's put into the whole.
It's put
Pay
on the
scale.
whole pay scale, because it's a
that's
cost of living. It takes our whole rate of pay and moves it.
So these, well, you said these are,
These, I use the pay, we have a draft pay rates already
Draft.
created for 26,
Okay.
and that's what's in here. So that would be the absolute most cost that you would be approving if you approved any of these positions.
Okay, that has the COLA and
It
everything
does,
built into
it does. It would be your great,
Alright.
the way that HR likes to present those things is like, this is the greatest cost we expect. It's also 3 years of experience, external experience. So that's how we would present it if we were gonna go fill it. So you know that we would have budget authority up to this amount. If you approved it and Diane found someone who was starting out, maybe just finished their certificate, they would probably get paid less than that because they would not have the experience. So that's what I'm trying to get to is this is the max budget authority that you should expect.
Max. Yeah, I didn't want to say, yeah, we're okay on these and then get another COLA on top of that.
Increase, yeah,
So I
yeah.
just wanted to make sure we had that.
I think it makes sense, and there's just all these different pieces, but it will be, Erin's position will be included in Diane's when she represents. This position will not be until you'd make a decision.
I think that's it.
That's an outfit. All right, Barry.
Good morning. I will try not to use up a lot of time. This is a position we've really considered for a long period of time. Police department's asked us to consider it probably even longer than I've thought about it. It's having an in-house investigator, somebody who could go out, help with follow-up investigation, sit in on interviews, frankly, help put some of our investigations together, and instead of having my attorneys do it. The commission approved a position for us a couple of years ago. And so, you know, I don't want to be in here, I guess, competing with everybody else. If you know, my position is no more important than anybody else, we could keep this person busy. I do have a person in mind. If you were to approve this position, we could use it. We could certainly keep them busy. But I provided justification, I think, last year as well. And I know there's 2 more presentations after mine, but you know, I really don't have anything else to add, and stand for any questions. All right. Thank you.
We should have put this one first with the financial impact.
Yeah.
Kicked it off better.
Let's give us a break.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a nice break, yeah.
Morning, Commissioners. Anna Burson with the Riley County Appraiser's Office. I'm here presenting a proposal to, it's expanded positions essentially, removing the personal property 1, 2, and 3 position descriptions and requesting the approval of appraisal support 1, 2, and 3 position descriptions. Again, we're fundamentally responsible for the discovery, listing, and valuing of property. Recognizing fiscal constraints, we've refrained from requesting additional personnel, but instead we're really focusing on leveraging the technology, improving efficiency, and reallocating existing resources, redefining the roles and responsibilities, and revising internal procedures to ensure that statutory compliance in the most cost-effective manner. The proposed changes aim to clarify role progression, optimize our workflows, and strengthen service and delivery. I'm skimming through a lot because I know we're at time constraints. But to meet the increasing demands and prepare for potential legislative changes, we've already begun realigning these responsibilities in the last year. Cross-training staff. Personal property staff have expanded their roles into residential responsibilities, work file management, and quality control. And so these changes just reflect our commitment to maintaining those high standards without increasing cost. There's no negative fiscal impact as these positions under previous titles are already currently budgeted for. The proposal simply formalizes the redefined roles to better meet the needs of our office. And so essentially your support in adopting these revised positions descriptions will enable our team to continue to provide those accurate, reliable, and efficient appraisal services to our community. And I'm happy to provide further or address any questions or details you might be asking about.
But you're showing a reduced.
Yes, I am.
Is someone's?
Essentially, we had a personal property appraiser 3. It was graded a lot higher because at one point the personal property appraiser 3 supervised and additionally was responsible for a lot more of the certification as well as agricultural use. When we had a residential position open, we transitioned the person that was in that role over to the residential side. So the agricultural piece came out of that. Additionally, the supervisory responsibilities temporarily went to our residential analysts. Those supervisory responsibilities are now shifting to the assistant county appraiser. And so the appraisal analyst doesn't have any supervisory responsibility under their position description. As the assistant county appraiser, though, giving them more of the supervisory responsibilities was the most logical transition. And so the grade went from a much higher grade to a lower range.
So I mean, does an existing person get a pay cut?
No, we had budgeted previously at that grade because the position wasn't rewritten yet.
And it's not filled. It's not currently filled.
It's not
It is
filled.
not currently filled.
Oh, Okay, that's.
No.
that's
Yes,
what I-
but no, there's no one in it getting a pay.
No, well,
Yeah.
there's no.
No.
That's why I just.
We.
That's a
Chris.
vacant position that you work on there.
The 1, 2, 3s, I think you all remember, kind of stack on each other. So once someone gets the requirements for that next level and we're able to, budgetarily afford, then we make the promotion, but we don't have anyone in a 3 role.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And if you take out supervision and agriculture.
No, I mean, I understand
yeah.
it is reducing it, but
Yeah.
couldn't imagine we were
No.
cutting somebody.
No.
But that's someone that's position you're still working on.
And the reason it's signed this way is it'll go now, ideally, it'll roll into one of the appraiser positions. They'll get this base.
Right. So essentially, you're getting your base knowledge in your support role 1, 2, and 3. And eventually, if one of those support roles decided they wanted to be an appraiser, they have the education necessary to transition successfully into those residential roles, which is why we wrote it in this manner.
So you're looking, for the new description right now.
Yeah, really.
You're looking-
Yes, approving
It's
the,
an unusual request, but it's still an expanded description, so we just put it in the process.
so essentially eliminating the three other
Just want
positions.
to make
and-
something look good on this sheet.
Well, I did want something positive, yeah. Or negative, I guess, I don't know.
This is just formalizing what we've already
Right.
started implementing in the
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
office and transitioning those roles.
The direction. And if then essentially you'd get rid of the personal property division itself, and this support role would be across appraisers.
It's a support position that affects all of the team. They don't just specialize now in the personal property, which is another, due to legislative changes, we've continued to shift those responsibilities. Other questions, Emily? Thank you.
Okay, last but not least.
I won't take that one. John Ellerman, Public Works, I guess my request for an additional custodian. As we know, we've been adding on a new EMS station here in a couple months. Not a couple months, but a month. And then mid next year, we should be opening up the Emergency Management Fire Station, EOC. Fire Department EOC. Those two buildings will probably will over kind of extend the existing staff. That's either at those two buildings or having to bring somebody else out there to cover. I think just a little bit more, we need that extra to cover those two and maybe. I don't know what to say. I mean, that's the main reason for is adding those two buildings. We wouldn't have to add that person until May, June-ish, whenever the emergency management.
The second one comes on.
Yeah.
And it's like, because right now, even though it's a building in use, the ambulance, they clean their own. You don't.
Right, so it'd just be the admin side of the EMS.
But I'm just saying, in the existing building, that's why you need to
Right.
add somebody, because right now they take care of it.
Right now, they take care of their
EMS
own.
takes
As
care of their
we
own.
move emergency management fire in there,
Okay,
they will,
That's, yeah.
and then need the custodial services, yes.
Because health department custodian cleans the EMS administrative side.
So.
So we have a
Yeah.
custodian, right? Because the EMS
Okay,
administration is in.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's in there, they're in that building.
So-
now.
So do you have this budgeted next year for a half a year on here, or is that full?
So this is a full year's budget and you all could approve it at any point for Phil. So this again is like what it would be is if you approved it for an entire year. John did want to make the point of he would be fine to. He could cover until June or whenever the building comes available, so we can rework a number or, whatever you guys want to see there.
We'll work it for 6 months or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be 7 months. I think you'd want at the beginning of June. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, right now the timeline is about June that they moved into. Give us just a little over half a year, about $30,000 total salary and benefits.
So I guess just to wrap up, these are all of the requests that we would like you to consider. If you have either now or at a future date direction on things that you'd like to see done differently, proposed differently, if you'd like us to look at some options. I mean, I heard you mention potentially contract or part-time employee for the health department, maybe a half a year for public works. If you need any other information on expanded hours for community corrections or the museum. You know, if you want to understand how that works with the as needed, just let us know and I can get you any information working with the department heads. Anything at this point, or want to think about it a little bit?
Any decisions?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if you had any direction you wanted me to already research, but you can let me know. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
We got two different versions here. You guys choose which one you want.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Looking at the one without HR, they're not needed, I don't think.
That's the one without, it's up at the top.
Yeah, it is. For adding Barry.
Yeah. And so if you would take one and pass it down.
Just standing up.
Hey.
Which needs one.
Okay.
How long you going, Jacob? Do you know?
Say
How long you going?
Great question. How much? 30 minutes? Okay.
And we can
Because we gotta get
put
out.
it over
Yeah.
to the awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't want me in here? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So cut right at 11:30?
Yep. An hour.
Okay, I'll move the county commissioners, including Chairman McKinley, Vice Chair Foki, and Commissioner Ford with Jacob Hansen, interim county counselor, attorneys for the commission, and Barry Wilkerson, county attorney, recess into executive session pursuant to the non-elected personnel matters exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act in order to discuss a personnel matter involving a counselor office employee, specifically to the search for the hiring of temporary outside counsel to supplement the counselor's office and to protect the privacy of the employee. The open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 11:30 a.m.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded for the county commission to recess into executive session for reasons previously stated under the performance matter of non-elected personnel exception, Kansas Open Meeting Act. All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Commissioners, the meeting is live.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and move that the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded, the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session, all in favor?
Aye.
I also move that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded, the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with consensus reached in executive session, all in favor?
Aye. Okay, I don't think there's any other business. I'd make a motion to adjourn, what's the date today? May 19th meeting of the Raleigh County Commission.
Right along. I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the May 19th meeting of the Raleigh County Commissioners, all in favor?
Aye.